I am super excited to get to share about Trello this morning. It's one of my favorite applications that I share with all of our staff all the time. So since I could talk about it for hours, I'm going to try to keep it as concise as I can. So basically, we're going to talk a little bit about the terminology and the basics of Trello, what it is, how it functions, and then I'll show you a little bit about how to leverage the email features that are in Trello, as well as email features and email trigger in Qualtrics. So if any of you have used Qualtrics, I'm going to kind of assume that a lot of people have used Qualtrics, which is a survey tool that we have here on campus, and if not, we can try to answer some of those questions as well, or maybe that's another Tech Tips Live for another time. I think also what we'll do is look at some examples of Trello boards and how our staff uses Trello board in different ways. So you can use it individually for your everyday tasks. You can use it individually for a big project. You can also use it as a group to collaborate. It has drag and drop functionality, which allows you to be able to move things around very easily. And I'm going to switch my screen so you can actually see a Trello board right now. And then one of my favorite things is being able to move things to done. So when you're doing project management, I'm using that term very loosely today, but when you're doing project management, you want to be able to see your progress. So the takeaways I hope that you'll have today is, one, that Trello is fairly intuitive. It's flexible enough for you to start using it right away, but also robust enough to be able to handle some complex projects. And it's kind of fun. If you look at the Trello board that you're seeing right now, hopefully you'll see that there are images on the front of the cards. So it's kind of like a work Pinterest. And you don't have to put images on your cards, but I'm one of those visual people that enjoys that, so that makes my work even more fun. I think it might be a game changer for you in the way that you process your workflow, not having to look through some emails sometimes to find tasks, but being able to have them on your board and then easily prioritize and reprioritize them should be helpful. And that if you do want to use Qualtrics and Trello together, and how we've done it is to create a ticket board, a simple ticket board. It's really only a copy and paste away, which is kind of exciting. It's really not a lot of complicated information. It's just basically copying one address and putting it into another program. So with that, we'll go over to the Trello board right now. And I wanted to just let you know that basically what we're doing, I'm going to click on this card. These are, I'm going to give a quick overview, we'll go over it more, but basically as you see across here, there are lists. And then these cards, these white pieces on the list are cards. And so I want to bring up this image. You can think of a Trello board as an electronic version of possibly a whiteboard where you can have columns across the top, and then you can actually take your sticky notes and stick them and move them all over the place. And if you wanted, you could even add more information to the back of your sticky notes, and then everybody can see where they are. So if a person, everybody who's in that room can see where all of your information is and see where you are in a project and a status kind of at a glance. So it's using a Kanban method, which is basically following a path or system from start to finish. So that's what we're doing here, just electronically. And I wanted to explain the hierarchy of the board here. So I'm going to bring up an image to show that to you with words on it as well. Hopefully it'll be helpful. So in this image, the dark gray is the background. That's the whole Trello board. And then you'll see that we talked about the lists. So these columns are lists. And you can add lists very easily. You can move lists around very easily on your board, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit, actually doing that. Then the white pieces, again, are the cards. And this is the front of the card. It gives you just a brief explanation. There's no formatting available when you use that. And then number 4 is the back of the card. And the back of the card is where a lot of the robustness is, where you can create lists and add due dates and those kinds of things. But that's the basic hierarchy of the board. I also want to point out that on the far right of this image, it says show menu, and there are some different things that you can do on your boards, like change the background, depending on what level of Trello that you have purchased. There's a free version, and if you want to purchase a business class version, that's what I'm using today, then you have more options to do some background changes and some more options for some fancier things with integrations of other applications. Then I want to take a quick look at what the back of a card, or excuse me, the menu on a Trello board is. And I've got an image here, but basically I'll just show you on this board. On the far right, you'll see Show Menu, and if I click that, there are things that I can do. I can add members to my board, which means I can collaborate with other people easily. I can change the background of my board. I can filter cards so that if I want to see only certain ones, if you notice the labels on the far left, I'm going to look at those to share with you, and you see yellow and blue, green and purple, and those have specific meanings that I've assigned them. So the yellow means Trello Basics, and you'll see most of them are here in the Trello Basics are yellow in color for the labels. You can filter the cards based on that. You can filter it based on other things. So if we were going to filter this, I'm just going to show you right quick. If you filter it, and I say, well, I just want to look at examples right now, and that would be the green color. If I click that, it shows me only the cards that have a green label on them. So it's a quick way to find information on your board very easily. So I'm going to take that filter off. And there are power-ups, and I'm just going to quickly show you that they're there. I'm not going to go into them, but basically you have a long list of choices that you can use to, if you use some of these other products, you can integrate them fairly easily with Trello. One of the really nice ones is a calendar, because then when you add due dates to your information, you can see it in a, due dates to your cards, you can see it in a calendar format. So that's nice. And then we'll go back, and you can add stickers if you want to, and if you click on more, that's where you get a little bit more robust information, settings, labels. You can archive items and actually send them back to your board if you decide later you want them. The email board-to-board settings we'll look at a little bit later in more detail, but basically this is that functionality that you can use with Qualtrics to have cards actually automatically populate in your Trello board, which can save a lot of time and make you can streamline your processes a lot. You can subscribe to the board, which means you would see all the activity on the board. And when I say see, I mean that you'll get notified. So if somebody else does something on the board, you get a notification that someone has moved a card or has added information to it. You can copy boards, and you can print and export if you have the business class version. So I just wanted to let you know that that is there for your menu for the whole board, and those things are controlling your whole board. On the back of the card, when I click on this card, I'm in the second column, and I'm clicking on this card, and when I do that, you'll see that I have a lot more options here on the right-hand side to add, and then some actions, and then even further to share and more. So we'll actually do this in a little bit, and I don't want to take too much of our time going over every last thing, but basically there's a description area here at the top, and that doesn't move on your card, so that's a good place to put any instructions or things that you want everybody to see when they come to that card. You can add attachments if you want. You can add Word documents, PDFs, just about anything, images that you can either make the cover of your card, or you can move them as a cover. You can add more than one document or image to your card. Then over here on the right, I want to take a look at these right quick. This is where you can add members to a card. So this helps you when you have a whole board, a whole project, and you want to ask other people to join you in getting those tasks done. This is when you can actually add people to a card. So you would click on here, and you would be able to choose from anyone on your board to assign them something. I'm going to pick on Ashley here and assign her to this card. And that means Ashley's either responsible for it, or at least she wants to be involved with that task. This is where you would add your labels if you want to add your labels to help further categorize and help make your project a little more manageable. You can add checklists to your card, and this is where you would create a checklist title. You can see here I have one down here called Add to Card, and that creates a checklist. And as you go through, I'll check it off and then I'll uncheck it. But as you check these, you can see that across the top of the list, it's showing me how much progress I've made. That's also a nice handy thing to have, to be able to see your progress on a task, or this is breaking down the task a little bit more, and you can uncheck them. Quick reload this page, so hang on just a second. And then you can add a due date. So here you can decide that you want to make sure that you check this tomorrow at a certain time. You can save it, and then it will add a due date to that. Sorry, this is wanting to making me reload all the time, so I apologize for that interruption. This is where you can add attachments, where you can add from your computer, Google Drive, Dropbox, OneDrive. You can attach a link here. So if you are looking for an image and you just want to attach the image link, you can do that very easily. Click attach and it does it very quickly, and then that's a really nice way to make your board very visually appealing and easy to read. Down here under actions, you can move the card, you can move lists, you can copy the card, you can copy lists, which is really very, very handy. Again, you can subscribe to the card if you want to keep track of what's happening on it. You can also archive the card if it's no longer needed for what you are working on right now. And then click share and more. You could print this card exactly as it is. It's not pretty, but you could do that if you wanted to. You can export it to a JSON feed if you wanted to. And then this is a link to the card here. And while we won't go into great detail about that now, you can actually link one card to another card on a board, which is kind of handy. And then here's an email actually for this card, so you could email a comment to this card if you wanted to. And just a note that then on the front of your card, you will see some of the things off from the back of your card. So you can see those little tiny icons in the yellow highlighted area, and that lets you know that you have a description, an attachment, and a list on the back of your card for that particular example. So those are the basics of Trello, and I know that was really, really fast. So I think what we'll go next to is a specific board, and we're going to do some of those things as well as show you then how you can use Qualtrics and Trello together. So when we moved to the Welcome Center, we knew there would be a lot of requests for us to be able to handle technology needs, building facilities issues, all of those kinds of things, and we knew that our inboxes would be overwhelmed, and then it was also going to be kind of chaotic to try to keep track of that as far as, does this go to Dawn, does it go to Jamie, does it go to Sharon, maybe it goes to Dawn and Sharon. So we decided that we would use Qualtrics to be able to keep those emails streamlined when people had an issue, and that was going to work pretty well. But then when we figured out that Trello had an email to board feature, then that actually automatically populates the Trello board with those incoming emails from the survey. So let me just close this right quick, and I'm going to go ahead and open up this board. You should see a purple board now that says Tech Tips Live Ticket Board, and I just want to kind of go over how this process works and actually why this is kind of fun, because if you notice, you have these lists, all these go across, and you have the cards going down, but if I decide I want this card to move, all I have to do is just click and drag it and drop it to where I would like it to go. So it's very, very easy to move things around and reprioritize tasks, or be able to brainstorm even. It works really well. So in this instance, we have an intake column, and that's where I would like the information from Qualtrics to populate when somebody fills out a form. So we're going to try this and hope that it works as planned. So if I click on this card here under Tech Tips Live To Do, there should be a link in here under the description. And when I click that, I'm hoping that it opens up a tab to our Qualtrics form. So I'm just going to quickly fill this out, hopefully. And this is what all of our staff do whenever they have an issue that takes more than just a quick consultation. They choose where they're at, they choose the description, I'm going to say computer issues here, and then they choose from the category, and that allows us to quickly prioritize it and get it to the right person as much as we can. So we'll put technology for here, and we'll say that it's a medium priority level, and I don't have anything else to say at this point, so I'm going to click the submit button, and then hopefully it will populate here, and if it doesn't, that's fine too, because we can go back and change that. So it should be, we will go over to this is what I need to demonstrate. So if you go to the far right under Show Menu, we're going to go to the email to board settings about halfway down. And you see here it says your email address for this board is this. And then it says, where do you want your email cards to appear? And so I want them to appear in the intake list. If I click this, I can choose any list that I want, but I'll say intake, and I want them to appear at the top. And I'm going to grab this email address here. I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go back to my survey, and we will go back to my project if it will let me in. Or, let me just log out of that and log back in here. I apologize for the interruption. Or maybe I'm just not in the right place. So if anybody knows, get me to my projects. You're welcome to. I will create a project. I don't think that it is functioning correctly right now, which makes it a little bit difficult to show you in person. However, you never know when those things are going to happen. So I grabbed some screenshots, and so I can show you how I would normally do that. So I am going back to my original board, and in this image, I went to my survey, and then over across the top to tools and triggers and email triggers. And then you actually create a new trigger and add it. And then the address that I just copied, you paste right into the to email address here, and then save your triggers. And that's how you make that connection, so that it should come and populate the board as you would anticipate that it would. So let me just take a moment. I'm going to try something different here. And into this board. Let's see if I can get this to work. I almost feel like Qualtrics might not be working as expected, since I'm not able to get to it like I would anticipate. Let me try one more time. I'm just going to quickly do this. Bear with me. Sorry about that. We'll try one more time. And then that one should, normally it populates right into this intake form. I'm not sure why it's not right now. It's really bad when you really want to show how well this works and then you can't get it to work. So let me just, anybody, just one more moment. I'm going to take it to this other side and see if I can.
Don, do you maybe need to refresh the page on that Trello board?
Maybe that would help. That's a good question. Usually I don't need to, but I might need to today. Thank you for asking. No, it's almost like Qualtrics is not working as expected at the moment, so I'm going to completely, it's grayed out. I can't even.
Don, I'm trying to just log into Qualtrics and having issues, so.
Okay, well, then let me do the best that I can. I'm really sorry I can't demonstrate that to you, but there's some other things that I can demonstrate to you. So we're just going to move on and do some other things that I wanted to show you anyway. And I only have 10 minutes left, I think, so I need to quickly move through these things. But how it normally works 99.9% of the time is that those emails that would be generated by Qualtrics come right into this intake. And when they do, for instance, it would normally come through without any information on it, but it would be here. And that's when it would just say BFWC ticket, and I click on it and I add the information that I want to add here. I add the name of the person that sent it, I add what the issue is, and then I go ahead and I click on the members that I want to add. So I would add Carrie in this case, and maybe Sharon. And then I would also add labels because it has to do with the building. It's a medium priority. And then if I needed to add any checklists on here, I could do so, and so forth. But I'm going to close this now, and then what I would normally do is just take this right over to the building issue, since it is a building issue, and that way Carrie gets notified that she needs, Carrie and Sharon, for instance, would get notified that they need to do something with that ticket and resolve that issue. So that's how it normally works. I want to show you a couple of other things on here. So just quickly, if you're getting started for the first time on a board, I'm going to actually move this one out of the way here for just a moment. And we're going to create a new Trello board. So I'm just going to go over to the right-hand side of this Trello board that I'm on. You'll see the plus sign right beside my profile picture. I'm going to click that and create a board. And then I have things that I can call it. You can name it anything that you want. And then if it's part of a team, you can enter that information. Or you can say none. I'm going to say Career Center, but I'm also going to make a private board for right now so that not all of our team will see it. And I'll say create. Once you create, it's a blank canvas, which is great because it's flexible, but then it also is kind of daunting. So typically, if you use that Kanban method, you would use something like, I tended to put that in all caps and put key resources for this. And then I'm just going to hit enter, and it automatically starts a new list. And I would say to do, doing, waiting on, and done. And that's how fast you can make your list. And then I want to show you that you can just add a card. So you would, if you have a to-do item, and it's check Qualtrics to see if it's working, and call Kathy, and email Shelly, I would put those cards on there. And then if I want to add more information to the cards, I actually click on the card itself, and that's when I have lots of choices to do things. So here's where I could write, I can put a description right here, and you can actually use tags in this so that, for instance, if you want to make this a header, you could do that, and then using a markdown language, just a hyphen and a space, you can say item 1, item 2, you click the save button, and there you have it. This is where you can leave a comment. I need to talk with you. And if I wanted to make sure that, I'm going to pick on Ashley again. Ashley gets this comment. I don't have her on this board, but you would put at whomever, and that would tag them. Then you say send, and that's the way that you can keep track of your comments about a task. This is, again, where you would add members. If you had members on your board, you add labels, and you can just click and say this means low priority, and save. And then you actually click the color itself to put it onto your card. And you can see over here on the left that it automatically did that. You can add checklists. So if I have a checklist for Shelly, I can put one there. I can add another checklist for Kathy, and so forth. And so you just, again, item 1, item 2, etc. What's really nice is you can use Excel or Word to paste lists in. So in this instance, I'm going to grab, hopefully you can see that I'm just going to copy a list out of Excel, and I'm going to go down to Kathy's list, and I'm going to paste it in, and then I'm going to say add. And if you can see, it's kind of like magic. It just adds my list in there for me. So if you have a long list of dates or names or whatever, you can just add those in, and then you can just click them as you take care of whatever your lists are. Let me reload the page again. So that's something that you can do, and it's very robust to be able to do that, I think. Then also, maybe you want to add a due date because you know that you need to take care of this by next week, and you just click save, and that will then put a due date again on the front of your card. You can see it's the left here with a little clock on it. So that's another great feature. I'm looking for, to see what else I want to do here. Oh, you can add an attachment if you wanted to. You can go to your computer and look for whatever you would like to put on here. I'm going to go to some images that I have for Trello. and just click open, and it adds it right in there. And you see it made a cover on the card. Well, maybe I don't want that to show. If you look under here under attachments, about the second thing down on this card, you can see remove cover, and that actually removes it from your cover of your card, but it doesn't actually remove the image itself. So I can click on it. It gives a nice preview of the image here, which is really great. And so it does that for PDFs and Word documents too. It doesn't actually necessarily open Word, it just gives you a preview of it, and then you can download it if you want to work on the document, which is very nice and easy to do. And then you can move the card this way. You can copy the card if you wanted to by clicking copy, and create another card. And then you'll notice on this that you have checklists and labels, attachments and comments, and you can uncheck those things if you don't want them to come over on your new card. So maybe I don't want the checklist to come over, and I don't want the label, but maybe I want the attachments and comments, and I just say create card, and it should create a duplicate card. And you can see that it did, although it didn't bring the labels over as we talked about. Let me just check an item here. It looks like I'm getting really close to my time. So I think I should probably show you a couple of examples, and then of other boards if you are interested in that. Or actually just click, bring this one back over. And I should open it up too for questions. So as I'm bringing this up to show you a couple of examples, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them.
And you can either type your questions in on the chat and we can read them aloud, or just unmute your microphone.
I just wanted to show you quickly that you can, this is just my daily board, but it's really a very, very easy way. What I like is this waiting on. This is my waiting on and done on my favorite column. So again, you can drag and drop. So I can move Tech Tips Live over here to done when I'm finished with it. So it's just a really quick, easy way to move things around. I'm going to show you that in this to-do, you can see that there is a card here, and that's because I set it up earlier when Qualtrics was working and sent a survey through, and it actually populates. I said to have it populated in my to-do list above the picture, at the very top of my list actually. And so then it comes in, and you can see that from Qualtrics I have all this information here from the survey itself, and can process it then as I want to at that point in time. So that's really very, very handy. And I wanted to quick show you one of my colleagues' boards. They use this board with new graduate assistants coming in, and theirs is not so much as a to-do in a particular path, but they have a repository of information for the most part. And then they also do have a to-do column that they have checklists behind that. So that's an option as well, to have it more like a repository of information, a place that they can come back and get information more than an actual path. And then another colleague's board, she supervises, our marketing coordinator supervises 2 interns, and since they're not here all the time, it's really a nice way for her to be able to communicate with them and assign them projects and checklists and due dates, and they can quickly then talk with her when she makes comments on the card, and everything is in context. So I think that's one of the main exciting things about Trello, is that when you're having conversations and comments, they are in context to whatever the issue or the card is about. So with that, I could keep talking forever because I do love Trello, and I apologize that Qualtrics and Trello did not work as expected today, so hopefully the screenshots helped a little bit. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. If not now, then later you can email me at dawnmw@ksu.edu, or give me a call, or I think Kathy has a link that you can fill out, and I should get that link and be able to follow up with you by email as well. So thank you for your time.
So yeah, Dawn, I think Kathy was going to go ahead and post that link in the chat right now.
Okay.
I did want to let you know we heard that, yes, Qualtrics and ITS, there are some sign-in issues with Qualtrics right now. ITS is looking into the issue, so it's just kind of an unfortunate coincidence that it happened at the same time as your presentation. So we apologize about that. A couple of questions that I kind of thought of just to get the ball rolling. As far as account creation with Trello, free account creation, and is it just Trello.com?
It's Trello.com. It's free. It's your email and a password that you decide, and that's really all it is. Or if you want to be a part of this Trello board that I made as a presentation Trello board, if you will, then you're welcome to fill out the link that Kathy sent you, and then I can add you to this board if you want to kind of play around with it or look around.
Okay, good deal. And then also my second question is, do you know, is there a maximum number of collaborators on a board?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think they have large teams, but I couldn't tell you what large means. We have as many as our staff, so probably 20 people on a board with no problem, but I'm guessing you could have significantly more, but I honestly don't know the answer. That's a good question, and I have to check that out.
Okay. Another question came in from Regina Scott. Is there a limit to how many boards on the free version?
I don't believe there's a limit to the number of boards. You don't have, you can't change the background. You don't have some of the setting changes that you have, but I'm not aware of a board limitation, number of board limitation.
So it looks like Kathy's got that Qualtrics survey over on the chat feature now. So if you guys want to save that for later, or we can put it on our Tech Tips website page as well if you guys need to go back to it. A couple more questions coming in. How much is the professional, and does campus have a license?
I would have to look at the pricing. No, I don't think campus has a license, not to my knowledge anyway. And I want to say that the business class, I'm going to click here and see if I can open that up. It says it's $9.99 per user per month. So hopefully that answers your question.
Next question, does this work well with the app? I
use the Android app, and it works very well, if that's what you're referring to as far as the app. I think it works great. It doesn't have the app doesn't have the full functionality as the web version, but it does work, I think, very, very well. It's still pretty to look at, it's easy to maneuver, and again, you can move things around on there, add cards, which is great. Last night, in fact, I thought of a couple things I wanted to put on the board today, and I was laying in bed and I grabbed my phone and added those cards to it. So,
another question that just came in, is this similar to Microsoft Project Planner? Have you ever used that, Dawn?
I haven't used it, although I did try it a little bit because it looks very similar, and I thought, oh great, it's part of the Microsoft suite. What I did try, when I did try just barely using it, it's a little, and it could be because I'm used to Trello, but I don't think it has the drag and drop feature. It was a little less intuitive to drag and drop. I think you had to just tell it to move, go into the card and tell it to move, those kinds of things. So I think it's very similar, but I think that Trello is probably a little more intuitive and quick to use.
Okay. Kathy, do you have any insight on the Microsoft Project Planner?
I think Planner is not as robust, I guess would be my assessment just from watching you today. So I think Planner has some work to do, and they have some plans that they're working towards, but they're not quite at the space Trello is right now. And I had a question, Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Have you tried putting any OneDrive shared files in a Trello, somewhere in Trello? I
have not tried that yet. Sometimes I've had some issues working with that, and so I have not tried it yet. Okay. I think it might work well, but I have not. I honestly can't say that I tried.
It would just be, I was just wondering where you would put it as an attachment, because it would just be a URL basically. So say that I have an online Word file or whatever, and I just want to, rather than, because you did an example of where people had to download something to work on it, I just wondered.
Yeah, I'm looking here to see when I clicked on the card, and OneDrive is an option. I just haven't done it, so I would have to log in and try that, and I don't have time to do it right now, but it shows it as an option. The other is if you do have a URL, you could just copy and paste it into the description area, I would think. And then click on it and log in. I'm not quite sure how that would work. It's a good question.
Are there any other questions at this time?
I would just like to quickly say that it takes a few minutes to set up a board, or sometimes a little bit longer, but I would say that overall this can save hours and hours and hours of time. So you see the ticket board that we use, compared to looking through emails and having to collaborate and send, and maybe somebody didn't copy the right person in. It works, it's just amazing, and it allows anybody to see at any time what the status is. So if I'm gone for a week or two for whatever reason, my colleagues can step in and just go with whatever needs to happen, and they'll know exactly where every task is at. So.
One last question that did come in. Does anyone know, does Google offer anything like this?
I don't know if anybody's heard of anything. I'm not aware of anything they have that's similar to this.
I haven't heard of anything either. So, all right. Well, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this up. If you want to see today's recording or any of the other past recordings that we've done in previous semesters, just visit our Tech Tips website. Dawn had it up at the beginning, but it's k-state.edu/its/tech-tips-live. I'm getting better at saying that every time. So please let us know if you have any ideas for future topics that you'd like to hear about. And I guess that's it for today. And thank everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you.